The Jake Asman Show will begin shortly. Thanks to all these great Patreon members who help support the show. Get your super chats ready. Jake will be here in just a moment. If you love the New York Jets, this is the place to be. And now, the Jake Asman Show.
It's very rare that you get a significant NFL trade this time of year, but one happened, and it could directly impact the Jets. We'll break that down and much more. It's the Jake Asman Show. Let's hit it and get it started. Man, our Jets are primed to win another offseason, baby. We bleed Jets green each and every day. Will the playoff drought finally end? Kings of the offseason, baby. This is what we do. At least we have Garrett Wilson. We have Brees Hall. Please subscribe and hit the like button below. Super chat, baby. Cut the line. We have Sauce Gardner. We have Quinn Williams. Prepare to be underdogs. Now it's time to talk all things New York Jets. It's the Jake Asman Show. Here we go. Here on a Monday, it is the final show here in the month of June. Appreciate all of you hanging out with us. If you want more of me, you're going to get 3 more hours of me tonight. I'm hosting on ESPN Radio nationally from 7 p.m. until 10 p.m. Eastern time. So if you're watching after the fact and it's between 7 and 10, put on Sirius XM Channel 80 or listen on the ESPN app. Or if you're in New York, 10:50 a.m. is where you could hear the show on the actual AM radio. With that said, let's say hello right now to a good friend of the show. We had his co-founder on this morning. Michael Nania from JetsXFactor.com joins us now. Mike, always good to get you on, my friend. Thanks for hopping on.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So originally, I thought we were going to talk about some of the recent stories you put out over on JetX, one in particular about Sauce Gardner that I was going to get into. But then we had a trade that happened, and it's very rare that you get a significant NFL trade, especially player-for-player type trades this time of year. So let's kind of get into that because you wrote a good story breaking down how you believe the Jets are impacted by the Steelers-Dolphins trade. So just to recap the trade terms first, the Steelers acquired Jalen Ramsey and Jonnu Smith plus a 2027 seventh-round pick. The Dolphins received safety Minka Fitzpatrick, who, ironically, they originally drafted, and they get a 5th-round pick in 2027. Let's break down all angles of the deal, plus the Jet perspective. What was your initial reaction to this trade?
Yeah, well, first of all, I mean, as you sort of alluded to, I thought, started thinking back to recent trades and wondered, like, is this the biggest player-for-player trade we've seen in the league in I don't even know how many years. It's just not often you see that in the league nowadays. And there are plenty of big trades, but it's usually player for pick. So to see 2 all-pro defensive backs and a Pro Bowl tight end as well involved in this, pretty unusual. But at first glance, I thought this was kind of a big win for Miami, and I think I'm still kind of leaning in that direction, but there is some semblance of reasoning to it for Pittsburgh as well. But yeah, it's interesting from a Jets perspective because you have obviously a division rival who you're going to play twice this year and compete against for the division title, and you have your season opener opponent in the Steelers. So pretty significant ramifications in terms of how the Jets match up against both of these teams. And I guess to start with the season opener, the first game we'll get out of these 3 matchups, I think it's, for Pittsburgh, the cornerback position was definitely a question mark because they have a 34-year-old Darius Slay who still played at a high level last year, but he's been more banged up, 34 years old. You don't know when he's going to hit the wall. And next to him, you had Joey Porter Jr., who has the most penalties of any defensive player in the league over the past 2 years. So you substitute him for Jalen Ramsey, seemingly an upgrade on paper. But my question for Pittsburgh is, have they considered the trajectory he's on? Because last year was a down year for him. He just turned 30 years old. It seems like he might be hitting that wall soon. So now they have 2 30-plus starters in that starting lineup. And from a Jets perspective, they shredded Jalen Ramsey last year. I pulled up the numbers and posted them earlier, but last year when targeting Jalen Ramsey in those 2 games, the Jets went 10 for 13 for 197 yards And Garrett Wilson had 7 of those catches for 137 yards and a DPI. So they were having a lot of success against him last year. They'll miss him in those Dolphins matchups, but they do get him in week 1 as he is in the middle of acclimating to a new defensive scheme, and he's playing alongside another 30-plus corner. So, big name on paper for Pittsburgh, but I do wonder if this is still a matchup the Jets could exploit.
Garrett Wilson, you are 1,000% right. He went off against Jalen Ramsey last year, both the games that you alluded to. So in honor of that, we've been doing giveaways on the show all throughout the month of June, and we'll carry that over into July. Because let's be real, Mike, anyone who's reading your website this time of year, anyone who's watching my show this time of year, we're talking to the diehards. So in honor of Garrett Wilson shredding Jalen Ramsey last year and hopefully doing it again in week 1 of the season, we're going to give away a Garrett Wilson jersey at the end of the show. So gift the channel membership or send in the requisite super chat if you want in our Garrett Wilson jersey raffle at the end of the show. From a Dolphins standpoint, I don't quite understand why they would trade Jonnu Smith. Their tight end situation now is just straight up terrible. And you would think a team that's all in this year needs to show real progress, maybe even win a playoff game for their head coach to survive. You would think that they would value the type of production that Smith gave them last year. He was really good. I mean, he was someone that was one of the better tight ends in the league. So I was surprised that they got rid of him. I understand Ramsey. It's basically a sunk cost. Everyone knew they were going to move on from him, and getting a star player back, I understand that, but I don't quite understand why the Dolphins would trade Jonnu Smith. I don't think that helps their offense at all.
Yeah, he's kind of the balancer in this trade. I think, initial reports were coming out. They didn't have the full details yet. When I thought it was just Ramsey and Fitzpatrick, I think Fitzpatrick's younger. I think he's a little bit better trajectory going forward. You give that to Miami, but Jonnu Smith, like you said, great year last year. He had 8 touchdowns, 88 catches, 886 yards, and maybe Miami thinks in Mike McDaniel's scheme that it's replaceable. They could put someone in there and they could replicate it, but even if that's the case, that player is not on their roster because it's probably the weakest tight end unit in the league as it stands right now. Pharaoh Brown is the only guy on that unit who scored an NFL touchdown, and he's only got 3 of them in 7 years. So Tom Pelissero came out and he reported that the Dolphins are already looking for tight end names, but it's it's going to be hard to find someone who could replicate that production. And again, to the Dolphins' credit, if they think that they can replicate this production in that scheme, it's not as if Jonnu Smith was doing this before he got to the Dolphins. So maybe they have that confidence in their offensive system to do that. But you had a known commodity with Jonnu Smith. You knew he could give you this production in that offense. You have uncertainty with Tyreek Hill, whether he wants to be there. And he also began to decline last year. So definitely questionable in a make or break year for the team as a whole, but also for Tua. And, obviously he's got his contract, so it's not make or break in that sense, but definitely a guy who didn't have the year you wanted to last year, and you want to get him to the point where he's playing up to that contract and putting you in a position to compete with these top AFC powerhouses. And you have to be able to go shot for shot with them offensively. So to trade one of your best weapons from last year and gamble that you could replace that with a trade acquisition from somewhere else is definitely risky. So this is where I think from Pittsburgh's perspective, it makes a lot of sense because he reunites with Arthur Smith, who he played under in Tennessee. They're a very heavy 12 and 13 personnel team in Pittsburgh. So you pair him with Pat Freiermuth and all these multi-tight end packages that they'll be running. You have 2, probably top 10, 15 tight ends on the field for those packages. That definitely gives them a lot of potential to capitalize on those 2 guys.
It's going to be, to me, interesting how the Dolphins, basically balance the idea of they got to win while at the same time, is their roster good enough to win? Does ownership have the expectations of this team needs to not just make the playoffs to win a playoff game? Because if you tell me right now the Dolphins missed the playoffs, I'd believe you. If you tell me right now they made the playoffs and lost in the wild card round, I'd be like, yeah, that's probably, to me, their ceiling. I don't look at them as a championship team. I've never been a Tua believer. First off, he's 1 hit away from the new married man, Zach Wilson, having to take over. And I just look at his inability to beat teams with winning records. McDaniel, the same thing. I'm I'm not sold on this Dolphins team. Whereas if you told me the Jets finished with a better record than Miami, I don't think that's crazy. Am I just a Jet fan saying that, or do you think there's some validity to that?
I mean, like you said, the Dolphins are caught in this very similar situation they've been in for a long time, where they're winning 7 to 9 games every year. They think they're on the precipice of contention, and they try to accelerate into that window, but they haven't been able to get over that hump, and they also can't get low enough to totally restart the system. And now that they're tied to Tua, it's going to be even harder to do that for at least another few years. So I think because of the contractual ties that they have to him now, it makes sense to try and make that push however you can do it. But I think from an objective standpoint, and maybe we're not objective because we're Jets fans, but I think most, NFL analysts would agree the Dolphins are the type of team that you said, like probably on that fence of playoffs or not. But if they do make it, probably not a serious threat. The one thing I think you can give them is that their defense played a lot better last year. That kind of bailed out the offense that struggled for a lot of the year. So maybe they think they can capitalize on that. Maybe Minka is an improvement over Ramsey in that secondary. But then they have that cornerback issue now without him. I know he was struggling and declining, but now their cornerback situation is filled with unproven young players, and they don't really have any premium investments coming in to fix that. So that's a new hole opened up on defense. So I guess the best way to kind of summarize this, I think, from their perspective, is they view Minka as extending this window a couple more years because 2 years younger, probably more reliable to continue being productive than Ramsey. They lose Jonnu Smith, but I think they have that confidence that they could find someone else to get that production from, which is a risk, but I understand why. Teams think they could do that. They have that sort of confidence, maybe call it arrogance, that they could coach players up. So I think that's what they are looking at this as. Defensive upgrade, extend the window a little bit in terms of your top defensive star in the secondary, and hopefully get something out of a different tight end that's similar to what Smith gave you. I think that's how I would look at their approach.
One of my good friends is a Dolphins fan, but he's not the Dolphin fan that, acts like they're the Patriots with all the success they've had. He's pretty real about his team because he's also, by the way, Mets fan and the Knicks fan. So that, that trifecta is not exactly great. The Jet Nick Met fan, not great. The Dolphin Nick Jet fan, also not great. But anyway, I asked him for his thoughts on the deal, and this was the Dolphin fan perspective on it. I think the biggest thing we as Dolphins fans thought was that we were going to lose Jalen Ramsey for a mid-round pick as a salary dump. So getting back Minka, who the Dolphins fans hated trading in the first place, is a massive win. Jonnu already wanted out for more money. Weird that they wouldn't have paid him. So now the Dolphins have to go out and get a tight end because their tight ends are horrible. I saw some people being like, wow, they traded for a guy they already traded away. That angle is BS because the Dolphins front office didn't want to trade Minka, but him and Brian Flores hated each other, and Flores left them no choice. Overall, great move to get a star player back when Ramsey was demanding a trade. Downside, they now have possibly the weakest corner and tight end groups in the league, so need to possibly make a couple extra moves there. In a vacuum, it's weird because the trade is good, but Dolphins fans are very down about the state of the team, so it's not doing too much. O-line still sucks. Corners suck. Tight end sucks. And then talent everywhere else. Very weird roster. Oh, another note. People are ripping the Dolphins because 4 of their captains from last year have been let go. Well, possibly the biggest criticism of the team last year was a true lack of leadership, bad culture, lack of accountability, people showing up late. So a captain change is not necessarily a bad thing. Not just let go. Armstead retired. Calais Campbell left in free agency. So that is a diehard Dolphins fan perspective on the deal, Mike.
Yeah, obviously I think he would know better than us following the Dolphins consistently, but I was just looking back at that Minka trade. I was trying to see who they got in exchange for him. I remember it was a good package, but that first round pick that they got for him in 2020 turned out to be Austin Jackson, who obviously hasn't been very successful for them in and out starting lineup. Not that great when he plays. So to get Minka back, since you didn't really recoup much for him in the first place, a guy who's made multiple all-pro teams and still has the talent to do that again, I think is a big win for them. And so from the Jets' perspective, when they face them twice this year, I think that cornerback unit stands out first. Like you said, I think unless one of these guys can step up and be a surprise breakout player, you're looking at a very exploitable unit, and they already had success against it with Ramsey out there. So it could be equally poor. It could be worse. Definitely an opportunity for Justin Fields to have some successful passing games against the Dolphins secondary. And then tight end, we'll have to see who they go out and get to replace Jonnu Smith. He had a game-winning touchdown against the Jets last year. He scored in the other game also. So the Jets had some problems with him, and now we'll have to see if the Dolphins can find someone else to replicate that production.
Rick Hayen, a.k.a. Amsterdam Jet Fan, is the first listener to gift memberships in our raffle. He has a chance now to win a Garrett Wilson jersey at the end of the show. That's right, in honor of Garrett Wilson torching Jalen Ramsey last year and now hopefully doing it week 1 against the Pittsburgh Steelers this year. We're going to give away a Garrett Wilson jersey at the end of the show. So a huge shout out to Rick for being the first to do so. He is in our raffle for 10. Comments, questions, super chats. We'll cut the line. We're talking with Michael Nania. He's the co-founder of JetsXFactor.com. I want to go just kind of big picture stuff with the Jets right now. We're in that lull until training camp. Are you anticipating the Jets getting extensions done with Sauce and Garrett before camp starts? What are your thoughts on the likelihood of that happening?
I'm going to say I think it does get done either close in the lead up or within the first few days after it starts. It feels like there's been positive momentum. It feels like that, especially with OTAs, with minicamp, those guys showing up and getting vocal encouragement from the coaching staff, from the front office, that they believe in these guys as faces of the organization. I do think it will get done. And obviously we've heard this stuff publicly before regarding players, and it didn't end up happening with Jamal Adams, and there are definitely other examples. But it feels pretty legitimate here because I do think it is a loud statement that they were present in minicamp and OTAs, because even TJ Watt, Terry McLaurin, guys who are very deeply embedded with their own franchises, and probably in terms of team success, are coming off of more than the Jets have. Even they didn't show up. So I think the fact that with the new regime that they still did, I feel like it's going to get done. It's a little strange that it's taken this long when you've seen some of the other extensions get done earlier, such as Stingley at the cornerback position. But I do feel like it's going to get done in the lead up to training camp. That's my hunch, but that's just reading between the lines, trying to guess. I don't have any source on that or anything, but that would be my guess. Are you feeling like that, Jake, or you think it's going to drag into there a little bit?
I do think there's momentum. Like, I do think that's genuine. That's real. There's a lot of smoke, I think, especially around Sauce, more so than maybe Garrett at this point. I think they both should be extended. I think long-term, you could probably speak more to it than I could, Mike, because you're really good with the numbers and the cap. I think it just makes sense to do it now. But I think they get at least one of them done. If I had to guess, Sauce feels more likely than Garrett at this point. But I do think there's a chance both are done. Maybe not by training camp, but I think by week 1, I wouldn't be surprised if both extensions are done.
Yeah, I feel like Garrett is maybe a little bit murkier because with Sauce, it does feel like there could be a clear-cut resolution of he's just going to get the highest cornerback deal. I think he deserves it through his play and just the general trend of typically the latest guy to get paid is number 1. And when you couple that with the fact that he actually deserves that, unlike a lot of players who break these record contracts, it feels like the Jets are going to have to give into that eventually, because I just don't see the Jets letting him, or letting this turn into a difficult situation, just because they don't want to make him the number 1 corner when it's very justified. With Garrett, that's where it gets a little murkier, because you have this sort of disconnect between, I think, the player we all see on the field and know he can be versus, numbers wise, he hasn't quite gotten to where you want to get him yet. Obviously great numbers, 1,000 yards every single year without the elite quarterbacks, but not a ton of touchdowns yet. Hasn't been super efficient. So I think there's a balance between that and the quarterbacks he's dealt with, and also some of his own individual things I think he can be better at. He did, he's had some big drops, some big contested situations where he didn't come up where he should have. So, I think it's harder to nail down what his value really is at the wide receiver position. I think you see a guy who could be top 3 to 5, something, some metrics and numbers might say he's top 20 or something like that. He's probably in between, but it's easy to picture Garrett pushing for something a lot higher than what the Jets might think is justified. So he seems more complex than me, or more complex to me than Sauce to really pin down what he should be worth. So maybe that one takes a little bit longer to figure out.
On our first show today, we had our weekly raffle announcement, raffle number 30. Congrats again to Kyle Clifton, Dylan Terriman, and Jerry Jett on winning our top 3 prizes. This week's raffle theme is Jets Mount Rushmore. So we are giving away next week a Joe Namath signed helmet, a Don Maynard signed helmet, a Joe Klecko signed helmet, and a Darrelle Revis signed jersey. So those are the top items that we have in our raffle. So in honor of that, Mr. Nania, your all-time New York Jets Mount Rushmore.
Mount Rushmore. So am I just going franchise history? Is this personal to me, who I've watched, or
however you want to do it?
History.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to do personal to you, that's fine. But I gave my all-time Mount Rushmore, even though I obviously didn't see Joe Namath play live.
Okay, so I'll go with, when I think of Mount Rushmores, I try to encapsulate like every era of whatever the topic is, more so than like 4 best. Because if we're being honest with the, 4 best Jets players, I think you have to have both Joe Namath and Don Maynard on there.
Agreed.
And then you're probably, after that, it gets a little tougher, but you're probably, with both of those guys on there, you're not going to cover every era of the team. So I think I'm just, it's so hard to leave Don Maynard off, because he's better than Namath. I mean, relative to their positions, he was better, I think.
When he retired, he had the most receiving yards of all time.
Yeah, exactly. Like at that point, the numbers he's putting up now, they look comparable to what some of the best receivers put up. But to be doing that in that era was astronomical. So it's difficult, but I think culturally you have to put Joe Namath up there, and that represents that era. So I'll go with him. I'll go with Gastineau to represent the sack exchange, Curtis Martin to represent your late 90s, early 2000s, and I'll go Revis for the modern era. So I think that right there is a good 4 if we're trying to make sure every period of success for the Jets is represented. I'll go with that. I think that sums up I think you could sum up Jets history pretty well with those 4 guys. So
you went Namath, Klecko, Curtis Martin, and Darrelle Revis?
Klecko or I'm going to go with Gastineau. Just again, like I think culturally, that's what I'm thinking with Mount Rushmore, more so than, because again, like the real Mount Rushmore, I think it's the presidents that are the most, kind of notable, more so than, there are other presidents who you may argue have like greater impact, but it's, those are the guys we know that are on the dollar bills and the coins. So I'm trying to think with the Jets, who's on the backs of the jerseys. And I think, and Klecko's obviously up there, but I feel like Gastineau is probably, maybe I'm wrong. I wasn't there in the 80s, but from my perspective, I feel like Gastineau is kind of the cultural face of the 80s. So I'm going to go with him. Along with
Klecko's the more beloved Jet, and he's the Hall of Famer. That'd be the pushback.
Yeah. That's true. I wasn't there in the 80s, but we can go with Klecko. I think it's interchangeable. Let's go with Klecko then. I'll take your advice, and we'll go Klecko to represent the 80s then.
There you go. You just made a lot of Jet fans who love Joe Klecko on this channel very happy with that. So there you go.
I'm very happy to make the adjustment. I'm always open to learning more about Jets history because I could see it. I spent a lot of time researching it, just looking at old teams and stuff. But to hear it from people who've watched it and are more closely connected to it than I am, I'm always very fascinated to learn from that perspective.
Hit the like button if you're just tuning in. Michael Nania is our guest. We opened the show breaking down the Jets ramifications from the Steelers-Dolphins trade. Very rare do you get player-for-player trades. Very rare do you get these type of players being dealt this late in the NFL offseason. We got training camps opening up in a few weeks, and Minka Fitzpatrick will now once again be on the Dolphins, and the Jets in week 1 will see Jalen Ramsey and Jonnu Smith on the Pittsburgh Steelers. Before we get back to the conversation with Michael, I want to shout out NY Cursor, who is the second listener today to gift channel membership. So NY, you are in our Garrett Wilson jersey that we're going to raffle away at the end of the show for 5. And now, ladies and gentlemen, Frank P with a 20 spot of channel memberships. Wow.
We're the freaking New York Jets, so we're built for this shit.
It is too hot in my apartment to put on this helmet for you, Frank. I love you. So I'm just going to hit this thing a bunch and shout out you for giving us the 20 gifted memberships here. Here's who got them, by the way. Matt Burns, Victory Monday, Cisco Lopez, Michael Petagrosa, Gregory Davis, Dino, JC, Don Reck, All Sports Carlos, Coach Drunken Chris Curtis. What a name. Nick Campo, John Stepick, Nitty, Joe Galino, Jeffrey R., Donovan Morgan, Kyle Batar, Adrian Flores. That is apparently 20 according to Mr. Tube. Thank you very much to Frank. He is in our raffle for 20 with that. You know, Michael, as far as the expectations now for the Jets, are you more optimistic than you were at the beginning of OTAs and minicamp, or are you around the same? Meaning, how do you feel going into camp, and should a Jet fan have some hope that this season could be a lot better than what the outside expectations are right now?
Yeah, I don't think much has changed for me. I feel like it's very clear the position that this team is in. I think they've chosen to approach this season from more so of a standpoint of where it stands in their long-term kind of, I don't want to use the term rebuild because they already have a lot of pieces. They're not starting over. Kind of retooling, I guess. They've treated it as that more so than a focused effort to win now. But at the same time, if they're as successful at revamping this culture and the way the team is coached, the way they play, the way they identify talent and build a roster, if they're as successful in those things as they need to be successful long term, even when they do add more pieces, then they should be able to be competitive with the roster that they have. And to put a number of wins on that is difficult. I think the best way to summarize how I think this Jets team is going to play this year is I think they're going to find themselves in most of their games. I don't think they're a team that's going to get blown out a lot because they have a really good offensive line that help them control the clock, limit turnover-worthy plays for the most part. And their defense is, it should be solid at the very least. We'll see how high that ceiling is, but I don't see it giving up consistent 30-point games or anything like that. So I think they're going to be in most of their games, and it comes down to how they execute in those clutch moments. Last year, we know that they really struggled when games came down to the wire, and if you flip those close games, it could have been a completely different team. So if this team has the mental makeup to come through in the red zone, on the goal line, fourth down, all these situations where they couldn't last year, then I think they could outplay their talent and win, 9-10 games, push for a wild card. But I think they're a middle of the pack type of team, and where they end up just comes down to some of those finer points that determine which way close games go. But yeah, I think for the most part, this is a team that's accepted. It's not going all in for this year. They're trying to establish good habits in terms of roster building, in terms of culture, scheme that are going to build sustainability for the long term. So yeah, maybe that means they punted on this year and it's not going to be the most fun year in terms of wins, but I also don't think it's going to be awful. I think their floor is high enough to where they should improve on last year's win total. But we'll see how high that ceiling goes. So yeah, I don't think my outlook has changed too much from the beginning of the offseason.
What do you expect from Justin Fields?
Yeah, I think it's a very interesting situation to evaluate him in because I think it's the best O-line that he's had for sure. But at the same time, the depth of the weapons is not as bad as it was in Chicago at some points before they got DJ Moore. But, it's something that he'll have to work around. He's a first-year offensive coordinator. But I also think the last two schemes he played in were not great under Luke Getsy than Arthur Smith. So even though Tanner Engstrand is a rookie, if he is a revelation and he could come out and find something that blends some of those Detroit philosophies, but kind of molds it to a mobile quarterback, then this could be the best system that he's played in alongside the best offensive line. So I think we're going to see what Justin Fields is made of. For better or worse, I think you're going to come out of the season with a good idea that what he's shown to this point is who he is. And we'll see if that's substantially better than what we've seen or nothing different. But I think that they're going to find good ways to unlock his rushing potential. I do believe in that with the pieces they have and this coaching staff that seems very run centric. But it just comes down to him individually. Can he work out some of these things in terms of processing and decision making as a passer and managing the pocket that he just hasn't yet? I think that's just going to come down to him and whether there's anything in there left to be unlocked or if this is just the ceiling of who he is. So we'll see if this situation with this offensive line can do that. But I think he's a quarterback who will, similar to what I said earlier, keep them in most games because there's a rushing floor to his impact that you should get most games. He's been better at getting the turnovers down. That should help the Jets stay in games, but I'm just curious to see the Jets play in a conference with a lot of explosive teams, explosive quarterbacks. Are they going to be able to keep pace with those teams with Justin Fields under quarterback at center, under center? That's my main question with him is whether they could, when you're playing Josh Allen, when you're playing even, early season Tua is explosive. When you're playing these types of teams, Dallas, they play early in the season. Can the Jets keep pace with them? Can they put up 30 if they need to win a game? That will be my main concern.
What's your take on the likelihood Fields is the week 1 starter in 2026?
I think, it's an interesting situation because aligning with what I just said, I don't know if I see him playing so poorly that it's obvious to kick him out the door. And because of the floor that this team has, they're
Uh-oh. Did 6 Rings just hack Michael Nania? What just happened here?
There's no escape, you tubby bastard. Don't make me destroy you and make 6 Rings a regular on the show.
Bullshit. I'll never let 6 Rings be a regular.
Or maybe I'll send you back to Hogwarts School for attic-dwelling Jedi doodles.
Hey, if you don't stop playing that Harry Potter shit, I'm gonna leave the show anyway.
Uh-oh. You hear that, B. Skywalker? 6 Rings just sent you to the hole again. There we go.
Doodles.
No way. He hacked the show. He did it again.
He's a fruitcake. He's got no weenie.
Bimbo, bimbo, boomo bop, bimbo bop, bimbo bop, bimbo boomy, bimbo, bimbo, boomo bop.
Game.
Help me. Obi-Wan Kenobi. You're my only hope.
Bimbo boomy, bimbo, bimbo, boomo bop, bimbo bop, bimbo bop, bimbo boomy, bimbo, bimbo, boomo bop.
Pew, pew, pew. Abracadadoodle.
Keep it up, 6 Ring.
Pew, pew. Abracadadoodle.
Puto. 6 Rings has no weenie. He's
For as long as I can remember. Ever since I was a little boy, it was my dream to go to Hogwarts. People always told me, Beast, you're not a wizard. You don't know magic. But I said, I don't care. I'm doing it anyway.
I'm watching my program. Thank you very
Bimbo
much.
boomy, bimbo, bimbo, boomo bop, bimbo bop, bimbo bop, bimbo boomy, bimbo, bimbo, boomo bop.
Okay. I think I got control of the show again. 6 Rings obviously knocked Michael Nania off the air. We will not allow that to happen. Michael, I think, is back with us. Sorry about that, Michael. We've had a Patriot fan that's been hacking the show the last couple of days.
I'm back. Sorry about that. It's those Patriots fans. They don't even want us talking about football right now. Just despicable people in Boston.
Terrible.
But
Terrible. Couple more
where
for
did
you.
I leave off? Yeah, sure.
I don't even know where we did leave. We were talking about just Fields and whether or not he'd be the guy next year. I think it's interesting because I do think there's a scenario where, this team maybe does what the Bills did, ironically, with Tyrod Taylor the year before they got Josh Allen, where they ended that playoff drought at 9-7. They stuck into the playoffs. They had an awful showing in the wild card game, and they kind of realized, well, it was nice to end a 17-year playoff drought. For us to get to the next level, we're going to need to get our guy at the quarterback spot, and they traded up for Josh Allen. I could see like a best case scenario, that being maybe the Jets' path forward. Like Fields gets them to the playoffs, and we don't have to hear about the playoff drought, but they recognize to take the next step, maybe they need that quarterback in the future.
Yeah, no, that's a great comparison. And I think it's an example of very honest self-evaluation from the Bills at that point, because we've seen teams mess that up. Look at the Jets, I think a couple years earlier with Ryan Fitzpatrick. Like they won 10 games and he put up all those touchdowns, but it was pretty clear at the time. I think anyone who watched closely realized that he had dropped interceptions. He was very largely carried by Marshall and Fitzpatrick on tremendous catches, on inaccurate throws. There are a lot of things like that where the Jets could have realized, like, hey, we won 10 games, but let's not get ahead of ourselves here. We need a franchise quarterback, do something, whether that was, giving Geno a chance and just letting Fitzpatrick go, drafting another quarterback, whatever it was. There are just a lot of examples of teams not self-evaluating properly. But in that instance, Buffalo didn't allow the team success to get in the way of understanding that they still needed that franchise quarterback. So, yeah, that could be another outcome here for the Jets where they have a fun playoff season. They win close games. They run the ball. They're good defensively. But, this regime is still smart enough to know, hey, we got to go get our guy. And then at that point, you make your decision, do you want to pay Fields to be your stopgap for one more year, or do you want to turn it over to your rookie? So there's a lot of different ways it could go, but I think the contract gives you decent flexibility relative to the level of quarterback that he is. I don't think it's more than I expected that he would get going to free agency. I thought he's going to get paid at more of like a backup quarterback, compete for a job level, but with the ceiling he brings, I understand why he got more. So it's not the worst contract for a quarterback in this situation.
Which rookie, Michael, do you believe will make the biggest impact year one with the team?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Mason Taylor because I think this is probably your number 2 target on the whole offense. It's a tight end heavy scheme, projecting it based on what Detroit did. You don't have a true number 2 receiver on the team. So I think Mason's, and also tight end, you don't have a lot of competition. So I think he could end up being second on the team in targets. Sam Laporta did that with the Lions his rookie year, while Tanner Engstrand was their OC. Laporta also a second round pick. So I could see him being the second most important target on the team. Obviously, Membu is in line to start. He could have a solid rookie year as well. But I think Mason Taylor is going to have a big rookie year, one of the bigger ones we've seen in terms of receiving for a rookie tight end in recent years.
Wow. I mean, I think every Jet fan would love that. As far as some of the other picks, I mean, we all, I think, like Armand Membu, expect him to be pretty good, of course, is the 7th pick. So I won't ask you about that, but are you a believer in AZ Thomas? Have you warmed up maybe to Arian Smith? Just your thoughts on some of the other less notable guys from the draft class.
Yeah, I'm definitely a huge AZ Thomas believer. I feel like that was a great value pick in the 3rd round. Obviously, turned some heads with the position, given the Jets already signed Brandon Stevens, didn't have a need at corner. But the value there is tremendous. He just, between his production and his film, his build, it is all the makings to me of a high 2nd round pick, low 1st round. So to get him there is huge. Yeah, and you have a guy in Brandon Stevens who, even though he's a penciled-in starter based on his contract, I think there's a lot of projection involved with him. I think the Jets are hoping he's going to improve on last year, so it's nice to have that security for both the short and long term if that doesn't work out. So big believer in him. And Arian Smith, I think I'm still kind of skeptical, just in the sense that, I don't know how fixable drops are when you have them to the extent that he did, more than just a couple big drops. He was, one of the top drop guys in the whole country. So I wonder how fixable that is. But Joe's film review did a lot for me to turn my outlook on him a little bit, because the biggest thing to me is he's more than just a, speed guy. That's why if you compare him to Robbie Anderson or someone like that, I think it's off base, because he uses his physical tools for more than just run fast in a straight line. He gets out of his breaks quickly. He's good with the ball in his hands. So there's potential there for him to be a well-rounded receiver, more than just a take the top off the defense type of guy. So that definitely changes my outlook, because I think it makes his ceiling higher than I initially expected, more than just straight line runner. But at the same time, I'm still curious to see, if he's able to overcome those drops and, become a player who justifies the draft slot. Not that it's the highest draft slot in the world, but, sometimes I do feel like, you could overvalue the tools a little bit and maybe be a little overconfident in your ability to fix things, because I think drops are one of the hardest things to fix. So we'll see if he could do that. But I do absolutely see the ceiling, and I think it's higher than a lot of people are labeling him as.
Mike, always good to get you on the show. Appreciate you hopping on, my friend.
Thanks for having me.
Ladies and gentlemen, Michael Nania, JetsXFactor.com, co-founder, him and Sabo, who's actually on the first show today, a day earlier than normal. Programming note, I'm on the radio tonight, ESPN Radio nationally, SiriusXM Channel 80, ESPN app. You can listen 7 to 10. Tomorrow, I'm on locally in the New York area. I'm filling in for Michael K, hosting his radio show from 1 to 3 on ESPN New York. So listen on 8:80 a.m. to that, or the ESPN New York app. So I'll be on 1 to 3, and we're going to do the morning stream earlier tomorrow. I have Boy Green coming on the program tomorrow at 9 a.m. Eastern time. So I'm still going to give you guys 2 shows. The first one tomorrow is going to be early, as I will then do radio, and then we'll do a later afternoon stream when I get settled back in. So busy couple days coming up. So I'm looking forward to hearing from some Maniacs. You guys are more than welcome to call into the show, and we will put you on if you want to talk not just Jets, but New York sports with me tomorrow from 1 to 3 on ESPN New York. All right. Open phone lines for anyone who wants in. Before we get into your calls, little update on the Jake Asman merch store. Merch drop. For the first time ever, we are now selling Jake Asman Show pennants and flags in both the Asmaniac logo and the normal show logo. So check it out. Patreon users, 20% off with your code. But a bunch of people have requested this over the last year or so. So, I mean, you're a real Asmaniac if you don't have an Asmaniac flag in your man cave or your global studio headquarters, to quote Peacebreaker. So we got pennants. We got flags. I can't give you guys a Jets Super Bowl pennant because, well, I can't control whether or not the Jets are ever going to get another one of those. But I can give you guys the opportunity to get a Jake Asman Show or an Asmaniac flag or pennant. So check it out, jakeasman.com. That's where the merch store is, jakeasman.com/shop if you want one for your man cave. With that said, let's open up the phone lines. Comments, questions, super chats. They cut the line. Amsterdam Jet fan will start us off. What's up, Rick?
Hey.
Always good to get you on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me again. It's been a while. I don't get to see a lot of live shows, so that's why I decided to call in and give some memberships, because you can only do that live, right? I assume.
Yes, you can only gift memberships live. If you want in on the raffle, though, when I'm not live, if you leave a super chat in the comment section after the video's live, I still will count that if it hits the threshold.
Okay, good to know. Well, I wanted that Wilson jersey because I have to go to the London game with my brother, and I have only ex-Jets and Sauce Gardner, so he needs one. He needs one. So, yeah, well, let's see if it works out. It's funny because I wanted to call for about a week or two because of the scuzzlebutt about the Jets roster not being as good. You've been championing a little bit about that, right? Somebody said bottom third or bottom 3 or whatever, and I was like, no way for that. But I always wondered, like, well, how do you measure that, right? How do you measure the roster? It seems to be just a very subjective thing. So I came up with something. Thought maybe it'd be fun to see what you think about it. Actually, this might actually be something for Narnia and Sabo as a way to, with data, actually decide how good the roster is. So I came up with something. I call it the Elite Player Index. So how many elite players do you have on your roster? And I came up with 3 categories. The top being if a player has already become an All-Pro or a Pro Bowler. That's a fact, not so much subjective. The second category would be people that we feel have shown Pro Bowl potential play throughout the years. That's a bit more subjective, of course, but as Jet fans, we know them all too well, and maybe some of them didn't get Pro Bowls because they're on the Jets and not as popular a team. And then the third would be a wild card a section for players that are either like rookies that haven't shown anything yet, but we think could have that potential, or maybe second-year players, that if they keep showing what they showed last year, then they could get to that level. So I call it the EPI Elite Player Index, and I got to a number of 9 and 9.0. If you get 1 point for the All-Pro and the Pro Bowler, 50 or a half point for Pro Bowl level play over the years, and a quarter point for the wild card section. I thought that might be something fun to do also.
So did you do it already?
Yeah, I did. I got to 9. So like
give us the 9.
Yeah. So the all Pro Bowlers are Sauce, Quinnen, Quincy, and Jermaine.
Okay.
Because they've all made it, right? So that's 4 right there. And then my Pro Bowl level play, like people we think could be Pro Bowlers over the years, would be Brees and Garrett. I put AVT in there if he's healthy.
Okay.
Michael Carter, Will McDonald, I think deserves potentially to be up there.
Okay.
Jamie and Sherwood, maybe on the fence, but I think so. And I even put Thomas Hennessy in there because somebody's got to be a long snapper.
Get rid of the long snapper, but other than that, I think all those players you mentioned would fit that second category. Yeah. At their best, they could be a Pro Bowl level player.
Yeah, and then the wild cards, the ones that we kind of hope, but don't know yet. Olu, I think, has a good chance to be that. Mason Taylor is a rookie, I think. If he pans out the way we hope, could be that. Joe Tippmann has shown us enough. Maybe Membu is that. Justin Fields could be that, and John Simpson I have on that list. And the idea behind that is you only get a quarter point, so like 1 out of 4 don't become that. So there's like 3 that don't make it and 1 that does, so it's a pretty okay percentage. But if you add that all up, we get to 9, and I'm kind of curious, like, how does that stack up to other teams? I obviously don't know the other teams nearly well enough to do this exercise, but
you might need to get like a diehard fan of other teams to do it, because some of this is very subjective outside of have you made a Pro Bowl or All Pro team before?
Yeah, exactly. But if you look at it on paper, I mean, that's quite a lot of players actually that are pretty darn good.
Yeah, look, they have talent on this team. The major questions is coaching quarterback, which is why their win total is 5.5. They had if they had a Mike Tomlin, their win total wouldn't be 5.5 because he's proven. If they had an Andy Reid, or if they had a John Harbaugh, if they had anyone who's been an established, successful coach, the Jets' win total is probably 8.5 talent-wise.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, I think the 5.5 is bogus. I think what Nardia was saying too. I mean, middle of the pack would be my minimum expectation, I think. Obviously we don't know what Glenn will do, and but Justin Fields basically just has to hold on to the ball and run like hell, and you know what I mean. And we're already way better than last year. I mean, how the hell can we now still be anything close to the 31st or 30th run team, right? There's no way. It's going to be
better, not
probably top 10, I think. And that alone is going to push us over the 5.5 threshold and closer to 8 or 9, in my opinion.
Let me ask you this: what was it like to star in Landmine?
Landmine?
Has anyone ever told you you look like Billy Bob Thornton?
Oh no! Actually, no. I haven't gotten that one yet.
Landman. I got the show.
Landman. Yeah. Billy Bob. Well,
you were in Fargo as well, Billy. I mean, that was great.
Does that mean I get Angelina Jolie too? I guess if that's
Bad Santa. Yeah, Jake West actually wants to know how Angelina Jolie was in bed.
Fantastic, guys. That's all you need to know. No.
I love it. Rick, good luck in the raffle. Appreciate you sending in 10 memberships.
Yeah. All right. Take care, guys.
Amsterdam Jet Fan, check it in. His rating system, while a little complicated as he was explaining it, it does point to what I've been saying. There's talent on this team. There is. And let's remember, too, like last year, the Jets defense, other than Jamie and Sherwood, I don't think really anyone lived up to their expectations that we had for them or dramatically exceeded them. You could argue Will McDonald, a lot of his production was in the first half of the year. I think he only had like 2 sacks after week 10. Right? So I think when you look at it, last year, down year for Sauce, down year for Quinnen, down year for Quincy. Those were your 3 first-team All-Pros. Michael Carter, banged up. Jermaine Johnson, out after week 2. I think there's a lot of improvement that could be coming for the defense. Just natural, like, regression back to the mean. Like, positive regression. If that makes sense. J-Quest says, my wife said if I put an Asmaniac flag in front of my house, she would leave. So for that reason, I'm out. Oscar then wrote, bros before hoes, J-Quest. She may leave you, but the Asmaniacs won't. Clancy, did Oscar just call J-Quest wife a hoe? Answer? Possibly yes. On that note, let's get to more of your calls right now. Let's play the famous Beast Breaker intro.
Bim boom me, bim boom 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 ba, bim boom ba, bim boom ba, bim boom me, bim boom ba.
Damn it, he got me again.
I already got the AFC East figured out. 13-4, Bills 12-5, Miami and a low 7-10, and New England 3-14, last place.
There's no escape, you tubby bastard. Don't make me destroy you and make 6 rings irregular on the show.
Bullshit. I'll never let 6 rings be irregular.
Or maybe I'll send you back to Hogwarts School for attic-dwelling Jedi doodles.
Hey, if you don't stop playing that Harry Potter shit, I'm gonna leave the show anyway.
Uh-oh. You hear that, B. Skywalker? 6 rings just sent you to the hole again. There we go.
Doodles.
God, 6 rings. Enough. Let me do the show. Sco writes in, Jake, please don't burn the Mets on the radio. Sco, you should want me to burn the Mets. They suck right now. You lost 30-4 over a 3-game series to the Pittsburgh Pirates, who were on pace to lose 100 games before that series started. And you didn't even face Paul Skeens. You want me to be positive about the Mets? They stink right now. You want some positivity? They're still right there for the division and to make the playoffs. But they stink right now. That's a fact. Now they got to play the Brewers, so they better turn it around quick. NY Cursor says, I use my Jake Asman 20-ounce coffee cup every day. I wouldn't get through the day without the right mug. That's Jake Asman coffee cup. NY Cursor, your check is in the mail. Thank you. Dino says, thank you to whoever gifted me a membership. It's much appreciated. Keep up the good work. Thank you, Dino. All right, more of your calls right now, ladies and gentlemen. Let's say hello to one of our favorites. He goes by many names around here, and people debate where he's calling from. Ladies and gentlemen, it is time to say hello to Mr. Kyle Clifton.
What's going on, Jake?
Kyle Clifton, congratulations on earlier today winning the signed Aaron Glenn jersey in our weekly raffle.
Very exciting. I'm running out of wall space here in my tiny office, but I'll as the details kind of came in piecemeal with that trade, the more I think about it, like if both teams look at themselves as short-term contenders, like they need to win this year, like Pittsburgh won the trade, I think, because Jono gives him a real weapon that he can deal with besides DK. Who was the guy that they use as the slot? He's started to emerge. Is it Austin in Pittsburgh?
Say that one more time, Kyle. I lost you there for a second.
Who's the guy who's emerged as the slot in Pittsburgh? Is it Calvin Austin or?
That's a good question. I got to check their depth chart there. That sounds right.
Yeah, I could be wrong. I don't follow them as closely as some other people do, but it seems like Pittsburgh is doing what we did last year. They're loading up
right
for Rodgers. If you're taking the short-term view, that's probably the right thing to do. But I don't really get. I think that the better player, Fitzpatrick, went to Miami in the deal. Maybe what they're doing is preparing for life after the head coach, right? And they're basically expecting to fail. Like I have no other explanation for it, right? Like you kind of can't roll into the season expecting to take a step back on offense, and the defense is kind of treading water. Their defense, to me, does not look like it's going to be very good. They've had some injuries up front, and the back end we've seen that Ramsey was diminishing, and quite frankly, Fitzpatrick at this point in his career might be starting to diminish.
They might be starting Ashton Davis in their secondary for some context.
You know what? I think there are teams that could do worse than starting Ashton Davis, to be honest with you. So one of these days it's going to click with that guy. And
yeah, if it's week 18, he's Mr. Week 18 2 years ago, and then last year he makes all his plays in one week when the season's over.
Yeah, maybe he needs another coaching voice, but I mean, all the physical tools are there. He's one of those guys that'll tantalize you, but he's probably not that much different than Justin Fields or Zach Wilson, to be frank with you.
Yeah, but Ashley Davis was a 3rd-round pick. Some of these other guys we're talking about high first-rounders.
Yeah, but I mean, it's just a wildly different trade than what we're used to seeing, and at the end of the day, it's got to be about money, right?
Well, they haven't paid T.J. Watt yet in Pittsburgh yet either, so that's what makes it weird as well. Like, you make all these all-in moves, but your best player is unhappy right now, and there's no signs of them getting any sort of deal done to this point.
Yeah, it's kind of bizarre, but hopefully it weakened the Dolphins more since we played them twice this year,
and hopefully T.J. Watt holds out for week 1 and then shows up after that. He pulls a Chris Jones. Remember, he missed week 1 a couple of years ago, and then the Chiefs lost to the Lions, and then all of a sudden Chris Jones got signed by the next week.
Right, and Rodgers lays an egg in week 1 as he is wont to do. So I appreciate your time, Jake.
Ladies and gentlemen, the great Kyle Clifton. Always a good call from Kyle. Hit the like button if you guys are just tuning in. If you have been away from the show over the last week, we made the executive decision that anytime you call into the show, you get a raffle ticket. So a little listener appreciation to any diehard Jet fan who's tuned into my content here on June 30th. And we want to give you guys more chances to win some prizes, signed items. We're doing a giveaway at the end of this show for a Garrett jersey. So gift the channel membership to be eligible. It's just $5 to enter the raffle for a chance to win. And if you don't win, don't worry. You're automatically entered for the weekly raffle prizes this week. Signed Darrelle Revis jersey, signed Joe Klecko helmet, signed Don Maynard helmet, and a signed Joe Namath helmet. Those are the top prizes in the Asmaniac raffle. Raffle number 31. That's right, 31. So shout out to everyone who continues to support. Big fella says both teams got worse with this trade. Weird. It's a strange trade, man. Like, even talking to people associated with both teams, I cover both teams, fans of both teams, because I'm on the radio tonight doing a national show, so I'm trying to familiarize myself with, the thought process from Miami, thought process from Pittsburgh. It's a weird trade. Not as weird as Six Rings hacking me mid-interview with Michael Nania, but very strange. Very strange. All right, let's get to more of your calls right now. Joining us now on the Gusbuster Umbrella Hotline is... All right, there we go.
I'm going to be going to Menards tomorrow, and I'm going to be heading to Food for Less and paying all my bills. So 1, 2, 3. Whack-a-doodle. So how you been here, Chief? What are you doing?
Abracadabra.
Shit. Okay. This is starting to get out of hand. I know who you are, Patriots 12. You are.
Bimbo boomy, bimbo bimbo boomo ba, bimbo ba, bimbo ba, bimbo boomy, bimbo bimbo boomo ba.
You're a pussy who hides under.
Bimbo boomy, bimbo bimbo boomo ba, bimbo ba, bimbo ba, bimbo boomy, bimbo bimbo boomo ba.
I'm serious, Patriots.
Help me, Pro V1 Kenobi. You're my only hope.
You're an asshole, Patriots 12.
For as long as I can remember. Ever since I was a little boy, it was my dream to go to Hogwarts. People always told me, Beast, you're not a wizard. You don't know magic. But I said, I don't care. I'm doing it anyway.
God, leave me alone, Patriots 12. I couldn't even stop that. He just took over the show. Unreal. All right, I have control right now. Let me try and get to another caller here. Let's see. Hold on. My screen is... It's not even working. All right, here we go. Let's try this.
Well, there's a feller they call Charleston Jets Rube, 'cause he calls the show nude, never wears a shirt. And some folks, they don't think he's got pants on either. It's a gosh darn nudist camp. Let's hear it for that Charleston Jets Rube and see if he has any Jets points today.
Yeah, I think as a Jets fan, we gotta love this trade, don't we? I mean, who do they really have at cornerback and tight end? Not a whole lot.
Yeah, I think they got weaker.
I mean, I think this definitely works out good. I think this works out good. I'm really liking this. And, as far as what you were saying, I never really thought about this, but, our defense was so bad after what, maybe week 6, week 7 is really when it kind of went in the toilet. If we get a lot of these guys that play up to potential, a young guy like Will McDonald, that could really help him. And being he only had 2 sacks after week 10, would it be, I know he had that one game early in the season where he had I think it was 2.5 or 3 sacks or something. Would it be too far out of line to think that he could add a couple more sacks to that? Maybe 13 if some of the other guys played up to potential?
I think he could have around the same number of sacks this year, Charleston Jets Rube, but he could be a better overall player. His pressures could go up because sacks sometimes are a little subjective. They're not the end all be all. I'd like to see him be better against the run, so he's just on the field more, and he added some weight. So I think their plan is for him to be more of an all-around player.
Well, yeah, with our depth, to try to keep Clemens off the field, it'd really be nice with that 15 pounds he added if he can, add 15-20% snaps this year compared to last year. But that's all I got, Jake. Thanks again, bud. Love you.
I appreciate it, Charleston. Good stuff. Open phone lines for anyone who wants in. We're going to give away the Garrett jersey coming up, so get a raffle ticket by calling in, being a part of our show. Hope everyone had a good weekend. Shout out again to the Asmaniacs who came to our Yankee outing yesterday. We talked about it on the first show, but it was a lot of fun. None of us melted. Thank God we had seats in the shade, but a lot of fun. Jack Mills says the R2 Beast 2 is diabolical. Well, I believe it's actually B2 Beast 2 to be proper.
Bimbo boomy, bimbo bimbo boomo bop, bimbo bop, bimbo bop, bimbo boomy, bimbo bimbo boomo bop.
And look, Patriots 12 is diabolical, and we're gonna bring them down. We haven't figured out how yet, but we will. We will. Ladies and gentlemen, let's say hello right now to another fan favorite.
Purple belt Mike, he loves the Dark Knight. He's got a green pool and he jumps right in. Maybe someday he'll get a brown belt, but for now he's just that purple belt Mike. Purple belt Mike, it might be purple, but he can still kick your dirty ass.
Now that's a video, my friend. A great video. Abracadabra. Okay. This has gone too far.
Bimbo boomy, bimbo bimbo boomo bop, bimbo bop, bimbo bop, bimbo boomy, bimbo bimbo boomo bop.
God. Okay, we got Mike with us. He's just throwing beast up there when I'm trying to go to other callers.
Man, 6 rings, man. What are you doing, dude? Shit. I actually just got home from physical therapy. It's my first foray into PT.
How are we feeling?
Sore as shit.
Okay, that's good.
They bent my knee back to within 1 inch of my heel touching my butt, which is good. That's almost like full range of motion. And I need to get it completely straightened out. I'm not there yet, but what do you call it? Like a fist under. So I got to work on that, but it's good. I'm going to keep at it. I know. It's a little dog. I love this dog. So, yeah. I had a Jets point, and I totally forgot because I just walked in. What were we talking about before
bimbo
the
boomy, bimbo bimbo boomo bop, bimbo bop, bimbo bop, bimbo boomy, bimbo bimbo boomo bop.
God.
Dude, that kills me. 6 rings, man. 6 rings.
Unbelievable. We're gonna get to the bottom of this. This won't last forever.
Yeah. What did you say just before 6 rings was on? Kyle Clifton was saying something.
The Dolphins got worse.
Oh yeah, that's what I wanted to talk about. I don't think the Dolphins got worse because they got the better player, but I do think they have a lot of holes in their roster, so they're going to suck anyway.
Well, they got rid of Ramsey, but losing Jonnu Smith is not a small thing either. Like, he's a really good tight end.
I feel like he's overrated.
I mean, he was really productive last year.
He was really productive against the Jets. That's where all his touchdowns and everything came from.
Second among tight ends in receiving touchdowns, 4th in receptions, 4th in receiving yards, earned his first
Didn't he
Pro Bowl
have
trip.
4 touchdowns, though, against the Jets?
He had a touchdown in each of his games against the Jets, including the overtime game winner. He caught 12 of 16 targets for 90 yards against the Jets total. Wasn't just the Jets.
He destroyed us, but yeah, all right. Well, whatever. I think they're going to suck anyway. So,
let's hope.
Yeah, I think they're going to suck. Hopefully, J.J. Watt holds out and we win that game. That would be good, too.
That'd be very good.
Hell yeah. All right, I'm going to sit down and watch the show. Peace.
I might need you to do some investigative work into this 6 rings hacking fiasco, all right?
All right. You got my number.
You got it.
You get the fuck out.
Unbelievable. Open phone lines if you want in on the conversation. Sham checks in. Arthur Smith loves Smith. The Smith connection in Pittsburgh. Bang Mateo has... You know what? I don't want to say that. It went from 6 to midnight in Bang Mateo's pants. That's what I want to say. That is what I actually want to say. There it is. All right. Ralphie Rocks checks in with a super chat. 6 rings went from cleaning bedpans to a mastermind computer hacker in a week. Only on this show. Only on this show, right, Beast?
He's going to die on a cross with gasoline poured over him.
No death threats, Beast.
He's been asking for it for long.
You get the fuck out.
No, he's not going anywhere, 6 rings. Nice try.
Oh, I know where he's going.
Beam boom boom beam boom 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 ba beam boom ba beam boom ba beam boom boom beam boom 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 ba.
He'll burn.
There's no escape, you tubby bastard. Don't make me destroy you and make 6 rings a regular on the show.
Bullshit. I'll never let 6 rings be a regular.
Or maybe I'll send you back to Hogwarts School for attic-dwelling Jedi doodles.
Hey, if you don't stop playing that Harry Potter shit, I'm gonna leave the show anyway.
Uh-oh. You hear that, B. Skywalker? 6 rings just sent you to the hole again. There we go.
Doodles.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. I mean, the Star Wars thing, 6 rings, just out of control. God, the Human Fund. Great charity, great organization. All right, George Costanza turned me on to them years ago. Big Human Fund fan. They are in the raffle, the entire fund for one. Gifting 1 membership. Let's see who got the membership from the Human Fund. Dave from New Brunswick. Fantastic. Hey, huge shout out to Jack who writes in. Jake, I met you yesterday after the game. Thanks for the selfie. Jack, great to meet you, man. You caught me off guard. I had just put my AirPods in. I looked up and you were right there. So nice to meet you quickly leaving the game. Let's see. More calls right now. Brian Oglick is on the line. Coach, what's going on?
What's going on, Jake? All right, so here's my thought.
Real quick, Coach.
Yep.
I received a notification that your package arrived, so you'll be all set.
It's there. I will open it next time I'm home, and I can open it live on the show.
Wow. Big
Little excitement for others. Thank
it.
you. All right, second round picks. I don't know if you covered it yet, but only the first 2 picks of the second round have been signed. Every other pick is unsigned because of the contract terms that Houston gave. What's his name?
The receiver from Iowa State.
Yeah, Iowa, and then and Schlesinger too, right? Both of those guys, Cleveland and Houston, gave him fully guaranteed deals.
Yeah, Nick Caserio kind of screwed us with the Stingley contract before the Jets paid Sauce, and now you have this messing up the second round guarantees for all the other second rounders.
Yeah, I think every team right now is frustrated as hell, and I'm wondering where this thing is going to tip. What's your gut tell you on timing of all these second round picks? You think the teams are going to cave and agents are just putting the pressure on?
I don't think every team will cave. I think agents are going to try and get what they can from their clients. There's no real deadline now, right? Like you could be unsigned and still participate in OTAs and minicamp. That's all in the CBA. It's all allowed. But like, once we get to the actual like training camp, then it's like, okay, let's see if there's a deal that is going to happen here. I don't think it's going to be like a lingering thing with Mason Taylor.
Yeah, I can't imagine with his NFL lineage that's a problem. He made all those quotes about just getting to work. So I don't think it's a personal thing. I don't think it's a him thing. I think this is a league thing.
Correct.
I think it's going to be an interesting one to see play out, though, because as this precedent is set, how does that carry over for future years? You know, the Deshaun Watson fully guaranteed thing. I think the rest of the team league is like, no, thank you. We said no when you did it. You're an idiot. Way to go. Screwing it for us. And now they're all sitting back going, see, that proves we're doing it right. So I'm curious how this thing's going to go. It's going to go one way or the other. That's all I got for today. Go Jets.
Coach, appreciate it. I just saw that Ryad just commented, I just joined the show, and I thought for a second that was actually Chet Volbrick. That's why we now call him Brian Oglick. And Brian's awesome. He's a diehard Jet fan. I think he won a Beck jersey. Or was it a CJ? I think it was maybe CJ Mosley. What jersey did you win, Brian? You write it in the private check. I see you're still on hold. I forget what it was, but it arrived, whatever it was. So I know Brian won a recent giveaway. JD says the Shamar Stewart negotiations are funny. Yeah, I mean, the Bengals can't even get their first round pick signed. They're so cheap. It was a CJ jersey, by the way, for Brian, which is awesome. Barbarossa writes in, Jake, I have been notified that Obi-Wan has received the transmission, and we can expect a response within 1 space week.
Help me. Obi-Wan Kenobi. You're my only hope.
Think I'm playing this shit? Think I'm buying this shit? I don't think I am.
Pew, pew, pew. Abracadabra.
Stop it, Six Rings. And Barbarossa, whose side are you on here? Six Rings side? Jetaholic is next up on the line. Hello, Jetaholic.
What's up, Jake? How's it going?
What's up, Jetaholic?
All right, so first off, that Star Wars stuff is awesome.
Don't give Six Rings credit.
No, yeah, I mean that's true. I don't want to give credit to a Patriots fan. But I wasn't even aware about the draft picks not being signed until he just mentioned that.
It's a league-wide thing. Yeah, it's Mason Taylor is the only draft pick that the Jets have not signed yet.
So every team has a second-round pick that they haven't signed?
But 30 of them. Or actually, I don't know that because some teams maybe didn't have second-round picks. I think there's only been 2 teams, as our last caller said, that have signed their second-rounders.
Oh, wow, that's crazy. I didn't even realize that. But I have a little quick funny story to tell that's related to the show. So usually, like, when I'm cooking or, like, doing the dishes or whatever at home, I'll put your show on. Sometimes it's live, sometimes it's after the fact. So I'm making dinner, and my stepson comes out. He's going to be 6 in November. He comes out, and he just starts fast-forwarding my phone. This was, like, sometime after your show, so I was, like, watching it after you were live, and he fast forwards it, and of course the exact spot where he fast forwards it to is that clip of Bobby and Charles, and it's just immediately like Bobby and Charles are taking their shirts off. Bobby and Charles are showing their knockers. I'm like, oh, whoa, whoa. I'm like, oh, of course you had to fast forward it to that part, but I don't care. It was funny, and he thought it was funny, and he actually said it yesterday. He was trying to remember what it said. I was like, what, are you talking about the Bobby and Charles are showing their knockers video? He goes, yeah. I'm like,
he's probably a little too young to be infatuated with breasts.
Yeah, that is true. Got to, maybe another 10 years, but for now he doesn't care.
That's a great story, man. I can't believe that happened.
Yeah, it was.
All right, that was pretty funny by 6 rings. We're talking about man boobs, and he throws that one up there. All right. I'll give him that one. That's funny.
All right, that's all I got for today, Jake. Have a good night. Go
Make
Jets.
sure your son doesn't see this call.
All right, I will.
All right. Jetaholic, appreciate you, man. Great job. Open phone lines for anyone who wants in on the conversation here. Today's the last day of June. So we update the list of names for the Patreon every single month, that countdown ticker that plays. So if you want your name added, join that Patreon and we will update it this week. So join the Patreon, baby. Patreon.com/Jake Asman Show. Bonus shows, Discord access, merch store discounts year round. Check it out. Also, we do still have some tickets left for the Jets-Panthers meetup on October 19th. The link's in the description. Lock in your spot. We still have field passes available. So check it out if you want to join us after the game on the field. But if you want to just go with us to the game, please buy your ticket, and we will get that squared away. The Jets gave us a little more time. So if you already locked in your spot, you're all good. You got a field pass if you want it. This is for everyone else who maybe was on the fence or wasn't sure. You now have a couple more weeks before the actual deadline is. Thank you to the Jets for being accommodating with that. Dave Brigger writes in, Beast, how are you doing today? Well, I don't think he's doing well, Dave. We've been getting hacked all show. Beast, how you doing?
Oh, let's see. I got work tomorrow. Time to get back to work. Bills have to be paid. Things have to be done. And 6 rings, I got a deathbed for you. Your casket's coming next.
Where's the bat? Are we gonna Uncle Louie him?
Oh, don't worry. He's right here. Nice 32-ounce bat. 28 perfect swing. This is your rotting crop that's gonna be coming across your ass. And don't think this bat's been used hundreds of times. This bat's been used hundreds of times. Look at that name right there. That's right. That's right. Read it and weep, Sonny, because your name's going to go right on this bat with your hand up your own asshole.
Whoa, that's strong stuff.
No, that's proof. Jets are going to be 13-4. Bills are going to be 12-5. Miami's going to be 7-10.
Bim boom me, bim boom 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 ba, bim boom ba, bim boom ba, bim boom me, bim boom boom ba.
And Patriots will be 3-14. You see the
Abracadadoodle.
You see where this bullseye's going right for Patriots 12? This is going to be your bullseye right in the back.
For as long as I can remember. Ever since I was a little boy, it was my dream to go to Hogwarts. People always told me, Beast, you're not a wizard. You don't know magic. But I said, I don't care. I'm doing it anyway.
I'm going to F you up, Patriots 12. You watch. You'll see, baby. And when I come for you, I hope...
Help me. Obi-Wan Kenobi. You're my only hope.
You're a sad man, Patriots 12. A sad little boy. Go find something to do. Go
Rejected.
Play.
Sorry.
Man, this is unreal. Unreal. Sorry, Beast. Hopefully we get control of the show again tomorrow. Open phone lines. Last chance to get in on the program today. If you tuned in late, we are giving away a Garrett Wilson jersey to one lucky listener at the end of the show. The reason for this is because last year, Garrett Wilson torched Jalen Ramsey twice. And we look forward to him doing it again week 1, baby. Jets. Jets. Tammy C in the house. Hi, David. Tammy, how come you don't call the show anymore? I need a Tammy C call in the worst way. Oscar says, what does Mr. Asman think of Beastbreaker? Oh, my dad's a big Beast guy. What else do we have here? New Q says, Charles must be at work. I'm guessing this is a joke, right? Now, Charles has not called this show, though, since the debut of Gorman Bingo. So I hope Charles calls in this week so we could all play along together. That sounded wrong. So we all could play Charles Bingo together. So I'm excited. Yo Home says, what are the odds Gorman sent out one resume today? Probably the same odds that the Jets are out of the playoff drought this year. Not likely. But we can always hope. We can always hope. Ladies and gentlemen, Purple Belt Mike has called back in. Hello, Mike.
So, I got the mail.
Interesting.
Guess what came in the mail?
What came in the mail?
Well, it says PBM written on it. So without looking at it, I
Hold
knew it
on.
was from you.
Let me do a magic trick.
Abracadoodle.
There it is.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, baby. Abracadoodle this.
Yeah, take that, 6 rings. We're using your own spell against you.
Yeah, abracadoodle that, bitch. How does that feel? Nice. Oh, wait, there's something else in here. Hold on.
Oh, that's right.
I didn't win anything else, though.
Well, maybe I throw in some bonus items for you because I'm a fan of your work.
Dave Rothenberg. Nice. Oh, this is awesome. Where did you get this?
We all have, all the hosts on ESPN, we have like these like promo cards, and I had like an extra one of Dave randomly, like a folder that I had. And I was like, you know what, Mike? I'm like, what am I going to do with this? Oh, Mike will like this.
Dude, this is awesome.
You got to get him to sign it next time you see him.
I am. And look at this, baby. Nice.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm going to put this bitch on right now.
All right.
Hell yeah.
Pew, pew, pew. Abracadoodle.
Enough. 6 rings. Enough.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Uh-oh. I'm losing connection, Mike. It's knocking me off.
Wow, that looks great. That looks good.
Hell yeah.
We're built for this shit. I like that. How's your knee?
You know Dave?
Abracadoodle. God damn it. Patriots 12, you bull.
6 rings, man. You're going to have 5 rings when we're done with you. Damn.
No, he's going to have 0 by the time I cut his throat out.
Bim boom me, bim boom 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 ba, bim boom ba, bim boom ba, bim boom me, bim boom boom ba.
Patriots 12, I'm putting you on notice, boy. You're going to get restricted big time from this show. You're going to get your ass kicked.
For as long as I can remember. Ever since I was a little boy, it was my dream to go to Hogwarts. People always told me, Beast, you're not a wizard. You don't know magic. But I said, I don't care. I'm doing it anyway.
I'm back. God damn, 6 rings. Unreal. Well, Mike, I'm glad that you got the swag pack, man. I threw in some extra items. I'm like, you could use it. The man tore his ACL. So
yeah,
I'm glad you got everything.
I'm gonna put this on my car, and I'm gonna put it at work.
I love it. Yeah, you got put a. Can they give you like a boot? Put an Asmaniac sticker on your boot.
I have my brace. I'm gonna do that too, actually.
There you go.
Yeah, that'll work. Hell yeah.
Well, I'm glad physical therapy went well, PBM.
Yep.
Good luck.
All good. Thanks.
Ladies and gentlemen, Purple Belt Mike, he won the Aaron Glenn signed jersey in our daily raffle on Saturday. I think we did that. I don't know. I try to be quick when people win raffle prizes, though, if they're stateside. If you live international, I need a little more time. But I'm glad Mike got his items. Kyle Clifton won the other signed Aaron Glenn jersey. We had 2 in the past week. That was this morning on the show. More of your calls right now. We asked for this person to call in, and this is why she's one of the greats. Tammy C is on the line. Hello, Tammy.
Hi, Jake. How are you?
I'm good, Tammy. How are you? Where have you been?
I'm still around. I watch your show every day. Look forward to it.
Well, we miss your calls, Tammy. You're
I know. I'm not as famous at this stuff as Robert is. He knows I'm new to this. I used to do singing videos, but I've never been one to be a speaker on camera, really. But I used to sing on camera thousands of songs.
Well, this is why we need you to start calling in, so you and Robert could both be in Asmaniac Madness next year. And the committee, if they're smart, they might put you guys head to head in round 1.
Yeah, that'd be good. That'd be great. I enjoyed it, and I even had my dad in here watching. He really enjoyed when they were doing the restoration inside the house. He really enjoyed watching the show too, and he was like, "Who was that guy?" He was checking out Beast and a few of them on there. My daddy's a real joke, so he likes to cut up too, and with the best of them. Yeah.
I love it. That's awesome. All right, let me ask you this, Tammy. Who's got the better singing voice, you or Robert? Because we've heard Robert sing Sinatra on the show, the national anthem. I mean, we've seen some skill from him.
I've been singing since I was about 2 years old. My daddy was a live performer on stage with playing guitar all his life. So I grew up with music, and I always had a 45 record player by my side. So you tell me who's the better one.
Wow. Can you sing something on the show so we could add it to the archives? I mean, we have Robert's national anthem, but we need something from Tammy C.
I don't know. Let's see. As I walk along, I wonder what went wrong with our love, a love that was so strong. And as I still walk on, I think of the things we done together while our hearts were young. I'm a walking in the rain. Tears are falling and I feel the pain. Wishing you were here by me to end this misery. And I wonder, wonder why he ran away. And I wonder where he will stay. My little runaway, run away. That's it.
Wow.
That's a piece.
Tammy, that was incredible. That was awesome. Great job. We need more
I
Tammy
love
C
Del
calls.
Shannon. That's one of my favorite oldies is Del Shannon. I love it. I love that song. My daddy was famous on stage with that one too.
Wow. Great job, Tammy. This was awesome. I hope you can call in more. We have a superstar caller in you, Tammy. We just need to hear more from you.
Yeah, thank you, Jake. I appreciate that. But I love it. I love all the personalities on here, and I enjoy being one as well. I'm one of the 4%ers. I watch every day. I just, don't voice myself as much as I guess I could,
Tammy, you're awesome. I'm putting you in our raffle for 5 with that call and that performance right there. So good luck, and I hope you win something.
Maybe I can win. I want one of those bucket hats, the white one with the green logo. I do want one of those. Asmaniac.
I'll tell you what. Do me a favor. Email me your address, and I'm just going to send you one of those anyway. But if you win the Garrett Wilson jersey at the end of the show, we'll send you that too. So you have 2 chances to win stuff, but you're getting a bucket hat anyway.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it, Jake. You're the best.
Tammy. Tammy, you're awesome. Great call. She wants she said white with the green lettering, right? The Asmaniac one, I think she said, for the bucket hat. We'll make that happen. That's awesome. Also, if Tammy becomes a regular, good luck in March, everybody. Oh, my goodness. Good luck. That's why I said Tammy's got a call, and we know she's electric. Boomtown writes in, speaking of Asmaniac, man, this our committee chairman wrote, Government of Canada has issued a warning. Beastbreaker will be trying to cross the border and unleash hell on 6 rings. He will be carrying a bat and should be considered armed and dangerous. Wow, the country of Canada now is looking into Beast. Beast, what do you make of this?
Bullshit. I'll get in contact with ICE on that one. Pew, pew, pew.
Abracadabra.
You're a dead man, Patriots 12. I'm going to wring your neck and break your balls. And then I'm going to take them, stuff them down your throat, and then make sure when you're sitting on the crapper, you'll be... This is what you'll be singing. I glue my balls through my butt. Oh, I glue my balls through my butt. Oh, I glue my balls through my butt. Oh, that's you, Patriots 12. Because you don't
help me. Pro B1 Kenobi. You're my only hope.
This is some show. What a way to end June, huh? All right, last chance. Does anyone want in on the Garrett Wilson jersey. Gift the membership. When you gift, you're in for the full. Actually, it might be full size, Joni, but I have like 3 bids out for one. I'm trying to do full size. I don't want to promise full size till I confirm it. I'll let everyone know. But we are going to give away a Namath helmet. I'm hoping it's full size. I can only work with what's available. But we are giving away that, plus a Don Maynard helmet, plus a Joe Klecko signed Hall of Fame inscription helmet, and a Darrelle Revis signed jersey. Those are the weekly prizes for this upcoming week, and we'll do daily raffles on the show. Listener appreciation till training camp. We got this jersey right here. Anyway. Ladies and gentlemen, Anthony Logariato is in the Asmaniac raffle for 10. A 10 spot from Anthony. Let me play a membership video.
Bim boom bim boom bim boom 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 bop.
No,
bim, boom,
6
bop.
rings.
Bim boom bop. Bim boom boom bim boom bim boom 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 bop.
Oh my God. Let me do the show, 6 rings. Enough.
Money, 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 money.
You got to be kidding me. The first person I got a membership here is Bobby Beasley. You can't make this up. 3MC, F30, make the Jets cool again. The Real Beats, Infrared Jets, Burkinator 47, JLS, MD, and AC all received channel memberships there from Anthony. Unreal. Beast, what do you make of Beasley getting a membership?
He don't deserve shit except that Dollar Tree toilet paper that should be sent to his house. And who gives a shit about him? He's dead to me anyway. He's dead.
Is there anything worse than cheap toilet paper?
Sandpaper. Sandpaper. Yeah. You can get that from Menards. Yeah, at a good price. Or you pick your price. It's like $12 by now. There's no sandpapers up there. Same with cement and same with other shit that you use for if you're doing construction. Like, for example, fences, they're $100 now. Yeah, they're up because wood's been going up in value, even in price. And tools, you ain't going to get them cheap. You know, nothing comes cheap around here nowadays. Nothing doesn't come cheap. Nope. So if you want the good stuff, you go to Menards. And remember, you save big money when you shop in Menards.
And remember, if you want a Jake Asman flag, Beast, where do you go?
You go to the JakeAsmanStore.com and get that right now.
Close enough, JakeAsman.com, but yes.
Do it right now. 20% off on everything. Pew, pew, pew. Abracadoodle. Patriots 12, you are one dumb cabron. That's what you are, puto. El estúpido los cabrones. You're a puto. I want you, cabron. I want to kick your ass and send you one-way packing right to the detention center. Es puto madre. Puta. Now let's move along. Move along. Pew, pew, pew. Abracadoodle. Patriots 12.
Help me. Obi-Wan Kenobi. You're my only hope.
Enough. Stop. God. Trying to do the show here. Oscar the Grouch checking in for 5. Thank you, Oscar. He's in the raffle for 5. Emil Hill, Mike Mime, Jeffrey Chardian, Brett Garnett, Mr. Swag McMuffin, all receiving channel memberships. Tremendous. I see Dylan is in the chat. Dylan, shout out to you for winning the Justin Fields jersey on the first show, signed by Fields. Dylan has said that he will display it proudly in his studio when he's a guest on our show every week. And Dylan says that Justin Fields will be a first-team All-Pro this year now that he won a signed Fields jersey. And I'm definitely not making this up. He also guaranteed that Fields would win an MVP and lead the Jets to the Super Bowl this year. Dylan says, Jake is such a troll. Am I? Ladies and gentlemen, last chance to get in here. Appreciate Oscar gifting 5. We'll add him to the raffle. Oscar the Grouch. Let's put that in. I'm getting the Wheel of Champions here. All set. John says, happy birthday to Jake Asman's mom. It's also my 61st birthday today. John, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, John. Doing anything fun for 61? Are you watching the movie 61? Beast, you're a big fan of the movie 61, aren't you?
Yes, I am. Thomas Jane, Barry Pepper. Pew, pew, pew. Abracadadoodle. Look, Patriots 12, we're trying to run a show here, so take your Canadian ass and get the hell off the fucking show.
Bim boom me, bim boom boom ba, bim boom ba, bim boom ba, bim boom me, bim boom ba.
Unbelievable. Enough. I wanted to hear Beast's thoughts on 61. I can't even do that. We know Beast is a big fan of that film. Unbelievable. Let's see here. I think we got another gifted spot from Oscar. Oscar is in the raffle now for 6 total memberships, 6 total entries. Appreciate you, Oscar. Let's see who got your gifted membership. James Mack is the recipient. Oh, actually, Oscar gifted another one. James Mack got the last one, and then the one before that, Rattlehead received it. So, Oscar, you're up to 7. Appreciate you. What should our next channel emoji be? We're not quite there just yet because YouTube makes it harder and harder to keep adding emojis. Oscar, making it a little easier. Just gifted another one. Thank you, Oscar. You're now in for 8 entries in the Wilson raffle. Dylan Terriman, he gifted another channel membership. Okay, Dylan, I see you. Dylan Terriman in the raffle for 1. His membership went to the Siberian Nightmare. DD wrote in Kyle Clifton emoji. I like that. Kyle probably should get an emoji. He doesn't have one currently. He calls all the time. I think Kyle Clifton should be our next emoji. So, calling all graphic people. Gator, Joe Mike, everyone who's ever sent us an emoji. Addison. Shout out to Addie. Need it. Also, Jaden D'Angelo. I don't even know if you're watching. You probably are. Why don't you call into this show once in a while? All right? That's a challenge to Jaden D'Angelo only. Thought of Addison. I'm like, wait a second. Got to mention Jaden too. Sham with a great question. Will the emoji be inside or outside? That's for the graphic designers to decide. Big fella says next emoji should be Kyle Clifton. Alan just writing something randomly about hockey. I mean, what are we doing?
Rejected. Sorry.
Anthony says agreed. Kyle Clifton should be. I like that. Yeah, let's get a Kyle Clifton emoji. It's long overdue. Long overdue. Beast, what do you think of that? Kyle Clifton emoji.
Deserves it. He deserves it. Pew, pew, pew. Abracadadoodle. You son of a bitch, Patriots 12. I'm going to rip your throat out and I'm going to kick you in the nuts.
For as long as I can remember. Ever since I was a little boy, it was my dream to go to Hogwarts. People always told me, Beast, you're not a wizard. You don't know magic. But I said, I don't care. I'm doing it anyway.
Look, you little retard.
On
behalf of the Jake Asman Show, we apologize for the foul language.
Beast, don't let him get to you. It's still a family program around here. That's exactly what he wants. He's trying to tear the show apart. Unbelievable. All right, here's what we're going to do right now. We are going to do the raffle, but I need about a minute to finish putting all the names together so we can do this Garrett Wilson raffle here at the end of the show. So I'm going to play a short clip. When we come back, it's raffle time, baby. Yeah.
The Asmaniacs roll, the party's alive. Jake Asman's the fire, keeps the vibe in drive. Fireman and chant echoes the air. Jets, 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 we're everywhere. Let's go, Jets, we're loud and wild. Born to cheer since we were a child. The green's so bright, we're never confined. As many as forever shines, a star on the floor. With Mr. Bonesy, we're harder to ignore. The songs, the chants, the spirit, the bond. The night keeps going till the break of dawn. Let's go, Jets, we're loud and wild. Born to cheer since we were a child. The green so bright, we're never confined. As many eyes forever united we find. Let's go, Jets! Let's go, Jets! Let's go, Jets! Mr. Bonesy. Mr. Bonesy, it's great to have you, but it's time to get the fuck out, right? Glenn. Aaron Glenn.
I got just the guy to get us going tonight.
What a night that was, huh? I still laugh at the transition to the Bonesy heavy metal rap that Gator made. All right. I know what you're all waiting for. I'm waiting for it too. It's time.
It's time to announce the winners of the weekly Asmaniac Raffle. Let's spin the Jake Asman Show Wheel of Champions and find out which Asmaniac is winning an epic prize.
Yeah, buddy. It is time for the raffle unlike any other, where we give away prizes weekly on the show and sometimes even daily on the show. So we gave out 3 weekly prizes this morning, plus another prize on the first show. Now let's give out another prize on the second show, a Garrett Wilson jersey. If you win, you got to email me the size you want it and the address where to send it. And I think green and white are the options we have. So you let me know if you prefer the white one as opposed to the green one. On that note, music, please. I said music, please.
Bim boom boom bim boom bim boom boom ba bim boom ba bim boom ba bim boom boom bim boom 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 ba.
Stop, 6 rings. This guy's ruining the raffle too. All right, here we go. Only one can win. Good luck to everyone. Reminder, if you don't win, you're still entered in our weekly raffle as well. Here we go. The winner of the G5 jersey is listener Anthony Logariato. That's Anthony's second raffle win over the last few shows. He won a 1972 Jerry Philbin card earlier in the week or last week. Congrats to Anthony. A great listener. We just played that draft party video. He was there that night with his daughter, Roseanne. So congrats to Anthony. That's awesome. Anthony, you let me know what color and what size you want it, and we will get it sent out to you. In fact, I forgot to show this off. I have my Garrett Wilson jersey right here. So, you let me know, and we'll get it sent out. But congrats to Anthony. Well-deserved. Thank you to everyone who supports these raffles, supports the show. Reminder, we started a little early today because I'm doing 3 more hours of sports talk tonight. I'm on ESPN tonight. Listen on the ESPN app. Listen on 10:50 a.m. if you're in New York. Sirius XM Channel 80. 7 to 10, and then tomorrow 1 to 3 on ESPN New York. I'll be back in the morning. The grind never stops around here. Again, thank you all for your support. Thank you all who watched. Let me know your thoughts in the comments if you didn't watch live on what Nania said, if you agree or disagree with his takes. And I'll talk to you guys soon. JETS, 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 Jets.
It's time for paying Charles to shave.
What the hell? You started already? You're supposed to do it on the air when I introduce you. What are you doing?
Shaving.
You were not supposed to start yet.
Sorry.
You're supposed to shave on the show. If you started shaving before the show, that doesn't make any sense. It defeats the whole purpose. You just robbed the people of the full experience, Charles. This is one of the biggest mistakes you've ever made in your entire life. People want their money back. This is ridiculous. Your pay's being cut in half. J-Quest says how much to put him in the hole. $50. 10 memberships. Unbelievable. How do you look yourself in the mirror right now? Rick Kent says he's not even using shaving cream. No wonder why he cuts himself.
I am using shaving cream, actually.
How's the hole, Charles?
Great.
What you did is disgraceful.
Sorry, everybody. Actually, the hole's not that bad. It's actually very comfy.
Nick Sean writes in, does Charles getting in this hole mean he's still a virgin?
Yes.
You brought such shame to this community, Charles.
Don't know what else to say.
Is there anything Charles could do to try and get some sort of redemption? Dave Brigga says, shave the chest.
Fine, I'll shave my chest.
It is on you now to come through for the Asmaniac community. Otherwise, you go right back to the hole, buddy. Oh, good Lord. This is what the people want on a football Friday. Why are you doing it like that, Charles? This is how you ended up with a wound that we're still discussing weeks later. Up and down, not in a circle. Good Lord. North and south. I don't even think anything's happening. I don't want you to murder yourself live on the air. That could be a problem. I thought you have an electric shaver, like a buzzer. Is it even on?
It is on, yeah.
I don't hear the bzzz.
It's on, Jake. Look.
Shout out to anyone still watching this. At first, he was going like this, like with a circular motion with an electric razor. I'm like, what are you doing? Salem says, imagine this is the first video you stumble across. Oh, good Lord. Charles.
Yes?
What are you doing? This is what happened last time Charles shaved. Good Lord. Oh, good Lord. Here we go. He's using a straight edge now. Oh, this could end poorly, folks. Why aren't you using shaving cream? Don't use razors. This is not a good idea. Do not do this. Oh, good God.
Oh my God, we're gonna watch a man cut his own chest open and bleed out on YouTube, aren't we?
You're going too fast. Slow down with the straight edge, Charles.
Yeah, you gotta. No. Stop. This is unwatchable. Charles.
Yes.
You want to go like little dabs at a time. You don't want to drag it 12 inches down your chest. There you now. Rinse the razor out, because you're quite a hairy little young man.
I inherited that from my father.
Thank you for that info.
He's going to get bumps the way that he's doing it. He's going to be itchy as hell tomorrow. I think we should cut it.
Charles, do you own aftershave?
No.
Well, that could be an issue with the itchiness.
He's got to learn his lesson, Mike.
And you know what? People paid good money for him just to shave his face.
That was a good stroke. You got a lot going on there. That was good.
Hey, now.
And you got to keep the razor clean out of the hair. You got to keep rinsing it out underneath.
Jake, how many people are online watching this?
189 people are tuned in live right now.
Go get it for yourself.
Looks pretty smooth. GTA, the fuck did I just tune into?
I don't understand how this guy keeps raising the bar on call-ins to YouTube shows. He is one of one.
Ralphie writes it. This isn't going to end well for...
Look.
Pretty good?
All right, I'm good.
Is that it, Charles? We're done right now?
Yes. I'm still getting paid, right?
Yes.
Well, because Nick and I are going to be... I'll see what I...
Did you just pinch both of your nipples? Stop! Stop!
It's a family show, Chuck. Ladies and gentlemen, Charles Eugene M. Gorman. This is what you missed if you tuned in late. How would you feel about this being our new channel emoji, Charles? That's a pretty big honor to get a channel emoji.
You have been watching Charles Learns How to Shave on the Jake Asman Show.
Bim boom me, bim boom boom ba, bim boom ba, bim boom ba, bim boom me, bim boom ba.
You get the f*** out. Excuse me.